I think the first time I heard of Amapiano was around maybe 2016. That's when it was completely underground at the time. And it was literally, it was based on deep house at the time with a lot of jazzy elements and stuff like that. And it was just emerging producers, like no name, nobody big was co-signing it. And then they were really building it. I mean, what was very interesting with that movement at the time, I remember going to a few parties and seeing how the DJs prepare their sets. Literally, the guy will produce, say, 15 records in the week, and he'll play those records as his set. And then next week, it's a whole new batch of records. It really changes when there's an artist or producer called Mdu TRP. When Mdu TRP added the log drum, he's the guy that added the log drum to that, right? And that's when it got its new identity. You know what I mean? It's because the log drum came to signify what Amapiano is like. If you could not tell
what sound, differentiates it.
That's what differentiates it,
right?
right?
So who would you say owns Amapiano? Is there a specific city or township or figure who you would say is the person that was the founder of this movement, of this music?
You know, like there's been conversations about who the founders were. I mean, people have said it's MFR Souls who hail out of the eastern part of Johannesburg from Ekurhuleni. Some people have said it's other people, but the MFR Soul seems to be one of the, you know what I mean, names that, I mean, it's a duo, MFR Souls, so they get mentioned a lot, right? But I think it was just a collaborations amongst many guys, you know what I mean? Like at a time, that energy, guys are just sharing ideas. So I don't think that you can pinpoint the origin the same way you can pinpoint, say, Kool Herc as the father of, or the godfather of hip hop. I don't think in Amapiano we've been able to definitely say this is the guy. You know, there's just multiple arguments about who was the first guy.
Now,
you know,
does this speak to, say, I guess, some of the cultural movements in South Africa where you cannot really pinpoint where, like, say, Com or Kwaito, where it's really like crowdsourced within these different communities and everybody adds a little something to it?
Yes, I think you've put it perfectly. It's crowdsourced. And I think that's what happens, because a lot of the times you find that you might have certain software and I might have the laptop, I might have the keyboard. So a lot of the guys, even with hardware, because a lot of, this comes from really poor communities, you know, and the guys collaborate even in getting equipment. And so they share ideas early, some bring this, but I think that's where it kind of started. Like, it might have been around earlier than 2016, but like I said, the first time I heard of it was in 2016, and it was still very underground, like very. But I think we start seeing it come to the fore in 2000 and I want to say 18 late, when Kabza had a song with Lihleza called Umshove. There was that. Then we had Mtula coming through with Shesha Geza. Like there was a number of guys that were like just coming up, still underground, unmixed, unmastered, going straight to the clubs, but the parties were starting to react to it. You know what I mean? Like, and there was a bunch of independent labels that are just putting it out, but really distribution, and it was like all new labels. The guys, they didn't know anything how to market the music. It was just like guys with the studio, and then they go to Crowdsourced and they put it out through Crowdsourced. A lot of the early Amapiano were put out through Crowdsourced because Crowdsourced is it's more for dance music. So like, a lot of the house DJs globally put out their music through Crowdsourced, and that's what these guys were doing. They were putting it out, through Crowdsourced at the time.
What do you think is responsible for this genre attracting this much attention, aside from, say, social media?
It's raw, it's authentic. I mean, it's the dances around it, it's the vibe, it looks fun. Like when you see the videos, you know what I mean? And I think, and I've always said that for us to be able to sell our culture and our art internationally, we have to be authentically and apologetically ourselves as Africans. And I mean, you saw even with the rise of Afrobeat, right? As soon as the Nigerian artists stopped trying to rap like,
To
you know what
American,
I mean, Americans, or sing R&B, and that's when the world connected. You know, because it's
the
like
authenticity is what people connect with. Yeah.
Yes, you know what I mean. The usage of pidgin in the lyrics, and that was a fascination. But obviously, the diaspora even takes it. You know what I mean, and shares it with the rest.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, and I think that's what happened with Amapiano as well. I think the first time though that I think we saw people out of South Africa react to Amapiano was when Focalistic went to Nigeria. I think that and this was like a huge party, and we saw people react, and hence I think Focalistic was the first guy to sort of start performing out of SA, and then him linking up with Davido helped blow it up in Nigeria, by extension in the UK, right? Because now the Nigerian diaspora had their eyes open, but then it was the Zimbabwean promoters and the Zimbabwean diaspora in the UK that really pushed it, because it's Southern Africa. So it was something where, because I mean, you probably see, you know, like in the UK, there's still tensions within the Southern Africans and the West Africans, you know what I mean? And so the Zimbabweans adopted it, and they were starting, you know, they put out the promoters. We're bringing artists. I mean, this was like 2020 and 2021, but obviously Instagram played a huge role in exporting it. You know, is the guys were going on live as they were producing the music, and they were engaging, and the dances, and I mean, so all that was
viral dances. I'm glad you talked about the Afro beats, because I feel like there's an intersection between these two genres, Afrobeats and Amapiano, especially when you see the collaborations between some of the big stars that represent these two genres. But I wanted to ask you this in terms of, again, you said many of the people, the originators of Amapiano were underground kids, independents, people with very little resources. Do you see that in the last couple of years that is translating in them making some money off of it? Do you see it generating good income on their behalf? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything if, you know, we are out here enjoying and, you know, celebrating the culture, but really the people who are making it are not, you know, making a living off of it. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I would say Amapiano artists are living, the ones that are successful, that are, I mean, they are living well.
Yeah, they're doing well.
I mean, they are actually at the forefront of luxury brands. They are the ones that are, you know what I mean? That's how you know that the first thing they do when they start getting the bookings is the Gucci belt. That's where it starts. Yeah. And before you know it, the entire wardrobe is all luxury. So I mean, they're about lifestyle. So you know what I mean? I don't know if they are smart with their money that I cannot speak to, but they're definitely getting paid.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad that you know, they're making some money off of it.
The smart thing, sorry. So the smart thing that they did,
yeah,
and I think it was by accident, because the formal industry did not embrace Amapiano until it was too late. But by the time the industry came, right, the Amapiano guys that developed we don't really market companies. We like ourselves independent, and if you are going to sign us, you better give us a hefty advance.
Yeah.
So, and the labels had no choice but to play by these rules, because That's what everybody was listening to. And these, because now the DIY platforms are out there. So now kids can just release through a product that they can get online, get a platform where they just pay $10 and be able to then get all their royalties. So now the labels had to sort of buy themselves in. I mean, the deals that we've heard about, I have never ever heard about the millions that have been given by some of the labels, even with other genres. Like it's definitely Amapiano the first to get all these big signings. Yeah.
So in a way, it was good that there was a hesitation on the music industry, the mainstream music industry.
Power the artists.
Yeah.
And even now, like I think 70% of Amapiano is independent. They refuse to sign to the majors.
Do you see it growing, evolving?
Sonically or business-wise?
Sonically.
Yes, it's already what we're hearing this year is not the same from what was there last year. And I mean, it changes so quickly. I mean, last year, the Pretoria, you know the city Pretoria, right?
Yes,
I mean,
of course, yes.
They have a sound they call Bacardi. You started seeing that sound sip into the Amapiano sound a lot, right? So you started seeing that. So it's taking different shapes, you know what I mean? And it's like you're starting to hear soulful Amapiano, you know, they call it spiritual because
spiritual Amapiano.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you're starting to hear that a lot. You hear the ratchet stuff. The ratchet stuff is the one with the heavy lock drum. It literally just forces you to lose your mind.
Yeah.
And then there's the more soulful one. So you're starting to see different shapes, but I mean, and also you're seeing what like Nigeria is doing with it as well. I mean, I always laugh and say the biggest song in South Africa last year, right, was a song called Sete by KO, right? It's an Afrobeat song, right, done by a South African artist, right, in South Africa. But the biggest album in Nigeria was an Amapiano album infused with Afrobeat, and that's Ashake.
Mr. Man with the
Vibes.
Yes.
When
absolutely.
you listen to Mr. Man with the Vibes, it's Afrobeat.
Yes, Mr. Man with the Vibes, yes.
It's piano, you know what I mean? So and you can just see like the Nigerians are adding their flair to it. So I think it's going to continue evolving. And
adopted by these different communities around the continent that will add their own,
and they make their own fear. I mean, you know, and I mean, and that's really what we want to see it happen. You know,
love it. Now, is Amapiano about the beats or the lyrics or the vocals? Sorry,
it's about the groove, man.
Yeah,
it's like listen. I mean, and even the parties are called groove. You know what I mean? Because that's just how. It's a combination sometimes, because a lot of Amapiano also comes out as instrumentals, you know, and they still, I mean, Felo Lati and Maestro 2 years back, they had a song called 666, which was killing the vibe, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of instrumentals that have made it huge. But at the same time, there's a lot of vocal ones. So it's literally, if you can capture the groove, if you can just be in the pocket, and then it flies, yeah.
Now, I remember a couple of years ago speaking to a South African DJ who was not happy with the influence one hip hop was having on South African music industry. And he said that, you know, musically, South Africa is losing its way in terms of contemporary music. Do you feel like Amapiano, this is the time for South Africa to get back its, you know, on the continent?
One, I disagree with the DJ, and I'll tell you what. House music has been big in South Africa, but so it almost feels like whenever people make those political statements about a genre, it's because the genre that they prefer is not impacting at the time. I can almost tell it was probably a house DJ. And you're thinking, if you're a house DJ already, house was important. So was hip hop. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, so and I think at the time the South African hip hop had given it a South African flair, right? And I mean, I think music is music. To be honest, I think as someone that makes music, and I think that someone that, you know, that works with music, once you start trying to define it, especially in a time when we live in a global world and that has been made smaller by social media, it's like then what you then saying is this. your music, if you're objecting to music from outside influencing local music, then you're saying that your music should also not influence global music.
The music, right? Good point.
Because then you can't want your music to be, influencing other genres around the world, but you refuse. You know what I mean? So for me, and I think I'm always open to the idea of just music is fluid. It's
symbiosis.
You know what I mean? And then it's about you bringing your flair, and if it works, it works. So the market will change, and you cannot force the market to listen to what you want them to listen to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's a time and place for everything. So for me, I've never understood those arguments, but I do love it when we create music that is authentically ours, even if it's hip hop, so long as the stories are our stories, that we are not tracing or we are not being copycats. We are bringing some level of creativity, ingenuity to the art. For me, I'm like, and I do think that Amapiano right now is, like I said, it's based on deep house. Deep house is not South African, but it's still, but we gave it.
You co-opted it in a way.
Yes, and then we added our own thing, and it sounds,
How does it make you feel as a South African when you see music from your homeland just trending globally?
It feels to me like, especially with my journey in music, it feels like this is what we've been working towards. Like we've been working towards this thing for like 20 years. And when you see it happen, it's the most amazing thing, because finally we you know what I mean? We saw Nigeria, like for the last 10 years, they've been doing, you know what I mean? So it's been like, we want to get our own, and now we're here, you know what I mean? I think it really is an amazing moment. Like, it really feels good. And like to see that, and just seeing guys that like kids that that some of them might have knocked on your door with the demo, and now you're seeing being celebrated across the world. It's just yeah.
Especially as a person like yourself who has been in the industry looking at these different dynamics. Listen, Thabiso, we could talk forever about this and other things, but I don't want to hold you much longer. I really appreciate you taking time on this Friday evening to chat with us about Amapiano, this global movement that I don't see it going anywhere in the next couple of years, at least. Like you said, everybody's taking a piece of it and kind of, making it their own. Hopefully we can have you on at some point again. Such a pleasure, man, and nice to meet you.
Thank you, Jackson. Thank you for me. I enjoyed the conversation with you, and I mean, looking to Amapiano, doing even bigger things in the future.